My wife snapped. My ex is coming to the housewarming. If you don't like it, go to hell. Uschi need to read this script while maintaining the exact same length, structure, and events, just improving the emotional depth and cinematic flow. Let me work through this carefully, keeping the same paragraph count and approximate sizes. My wife's words cut through the air like a blade. My ex is coming to the housewarming. If you don't like it, go to hell. She expected me to swallow it, to play the role of the understanding partner while her past walked through our door. Instead, I gave her something she never anticipated. When her old flame arrived at the height of our party, confidence radiating from his smile, I met his eyes and said simply, "She's yours now." Then I walked away forever. Some might call that cold. Others, those who understand what respect truly costs, would call it the only move left to make. This is how it happened. Thursday night, I slid out from under the kitchen sink to find her standing there, arms folded tight across her chest. The front door had just slammed hard enough to rattle the picture frames, and everything in her posture told me a decision had already been made, one I'd be living with whether I liked it or not. "We need to talk about Saturday," she announced. I wiped my hands and stood. Saturday was our housewarming party, 2 weeks in the planning. Friends coming to see the apartment we'd shared for 3 months. Nothing extravagant, food, drinks, maybe 30 people, simple. "What about Saturday?" I asked. She took a breath, shoulders squaring like she was preparing for battle. "I've invited someone important to me, and I need you to be calm about it, mature about it, or frankly, we're done here." The phrasing caught me off guard. This wasn't a conversation. It was an ultimatum delivered like a corporate memo. Her eyes held that particular kind of certainty, the kind that comes from already anticipating resistance and having all the counter-arguments loaded and ready. "Who did you invite?" I asked. Richard, her ex-boyfriend, 3 years together before me. A name that surfaced so often in her stories I'd grown numb to it. Someone she still followed on every platform because, as she always said, blocking people was immature. Hearing it now made something tighten in my chest, but I'd learned to endure it. I set the wrench down on the counter. The metallic clink sounded louder than it should have. "You invited your ex-boyfriend to our housewarming party." "Yes, Richard and I are still friends, good friends. And if you have a problem with that, then maybe you're not as confident as I thought." Her tone shifted, defensive now, edged with accusation. "I need you to stay calm and mature about this. Can you do that? Or are we going to have a problem?" There it was. Suddenly, it was my problem. My insecurity, my potential failure to maturely handle her bringing another man into our home. I watched her standing there, chin lifted slightly, eyes blazing with challenge, waiting for me to argue. She'd rehearsed this, she'd prepared for the fight. She was certain she'd win, but I gave her something else. A smile, calm, deep, almost unfamiliar in how cold its tranquility felt. "I'll be very calm. I'd say. Very mature. I promise." My voice didn't waver, not even slightly. Her expression flickered. Confusion replaced the armor she'd worn into the room. This wasn't the script she'd prepared for. She frowned, trying to read me. "Really? You're not going to have a problem with this?" "Absolutely no problem. If Richard is important to you, he's welcome here." I kept my tone steady, almost detached, just enough that it might have unsettled her if she'd been paying closer attention. She studied my face, searching for sarcasm or hidden anger. She found nothing. Finally, her shoulders relaxed and a smile crept across her lips, relieved, even triumphant. "Well, great. I'm glad you're not going to get weird about this." She seemed genuinely relieved. "I was worried you'd make a big deal out of it." "Not at all," I said. turning back to finish tightening the last fitting under the sink. I tested the faucet. No more leaks. I dried my hands, pulled out my phone, and scrolled to my chat with Dalton. Dalton, my friend from the mechanical equipment company where we both worked. "Is that spare room of yours still available?" His reply came fast. "Always. What's up?" "I'll tell you Saturday. Just need a place to stay for a while. No problem. Doors always open. Come whenever." I pocketed my phone and picked up my tools. From the bedroom, I could still hear her laughing on the phone, telling someone how understanding I was. Friday morning, I woke before her. She was still sleeping, face peaceful, completely unaware that anything had shifted. I moved quietly, brushed my teeth, washed my face, dressed, then left for our company in the Madrid suburbs. At the office, I silenced my phone. She sent several texts around lunch, all about the party. What food to buy, who'd confirmed, how excited she was. No mention of Richard. She'd moved on completely, assuming the matter was settled and that I'd fallen in line. During my break, I sat in the company van and made a mental inventory of what I'd take. Passport, birth certificate, laptop, hard drive with photos, my grandfather's old mechanical watch, the family heirloom, the tools I'd bought with my own money, the ones that were extensions of my hands at work, a week's worth of clothes. Everything else could stay, including the things we'd purchased together, the objects she'd labeled ours that had lost all meaning to me. My colleague Hector stopped by with a sandwich. "You okay? You look like you're planning something big." Hector always could read me. "Just thinking," I said. "Sometimes you don't realize you've been on the wrong path until someone pushes you to the edge of it." He nodded slowly. "Man, that doesn't sound like you." After work, I stopped at the bank on the way home. We had a joint account for rent and utilities, but most of my savings were separate. I'd always maintained that independence. I logged into online banking and transferred €500, my share of next month's rent, into the joint account, my legal obligation, part of a clean exit. Then I transferred the remaining €12,000 from my savings into a new account I'd opened at another bank, clean, untraceable. When I got back to the apartment that evening, she was already home, surrounded by shopping bags. She'd clearly hit the big mall, decorations, plastic cups, paper plates. The apartment buzzed with pre-party excitement. "Can you help me hang these up?" She held up strings of twinkling lights, eyes bright with anticipation. "Of course," I said. For the next hour, we decorated together. She moved around the apartment, directing placement, talking nonstop about how wonderful tomorrow would be, how everyone would love the place, how this was exactly what we needed. "This is a brand new beginning for us," she said, stepping back to admire the lights we'd hung in the living room. "Don't you think?" Her face glowed. "Definitely a turning point," I answered. My voice was calm. Inside, I felt ice. She laughed. Around 8, she ordered pizza. We sat on the sofa eating while she scrolled through her phone, showing me responses to the party invitation. Lots of people had confirmed. Then she paused on a message, her face lighting up. "Richard just confirmed he's coming. He's bringing 2 bottles of good Rioja." Her tone carried that same note of triumph. "How nice of him," I said, taking another bite of pizza. She glanced at me. I gave her nothing, just kept chewing, eyes on the TV, expression blank. "You're unnervingly calm about all this," she said, unease creeping into her voice. "You told me to be mature," I answered. "I'm being mature. I know, but it's strange. Most men would at least be a little uncomfortable." She hesitated, as if my cooperation was making her more uneasy than resistance would have. After dinner, she went to shower. I used the time to start moving things, not obviously, just small items. Laptop, hard drive, headphones, a few shirts, into my gym bag, into the service van hidden behind the driver's seat. Important documents, My grandfather's inheritance certificate, my technician's license, went into a waterproof bag under the car seat. When she came out, hair wrapped in a towel, I was back on the couch as if nothing had happened. "What are you wearing tomorrow?" she asked. "Probably jeans and a shirt. Maybe that navy blue one." "Perfect. I hope we look good together." We, the word hung in the air. She had no idea that by this time tomorrow there would be no we. That night I lay in bed while she fell asleep within minutes. Her breathing was even, peaceful. I stared at the ceiling, eyes wide open. My phone vibrated once. "Dalton. Room's ready when you need it. You sure about this?" "Never been more certain," I replied. "Respect. See you tomorrow." I put the phone down and turned to look at her. She slept soundly, probably dreaming of her perfect party. She wanted maturity. Tomorrow, she'd get the most mature response possible, not anger, not jealousy, not a scene, just a clean, permanent exit, a farewell she'd never see coming. Saturday arrived. When I woke, she was already moving through the apartment, rearranging things that didn't need rearranging, buzzing with nervous energy. She wanted everything perfect. "Can you run to the supermarket for ice?" she asked, without looking up from her phone. "And get some extra beer. I don't think we have enough." I drove to Garcia Supermarket in the city center, taking my time. I browsed the aisles slowly, like any normal weekend shopper. I picked up 2 large bags of ice and a case of Australian Galician beer from Barcelona. At checkout, the older cashier chatted with me about Madrid's recent weather. I responded automatically, my mind already hours ahead, rehearsing that moment. Back at the apartment, she'd laid out all the food: Spanish tapas, ham, cheese platters, olives, chips, dips, vegetable trays, chicken wings warming in the oven. The apartment looked beautiful. She'd put real effort into it, every detail considered. Under different circumstances, I might have felt proud. "Guests started arriving at 4, she said, checking her hair in the hallway mirror for the 3rd time. "Richard says he'll get here around 5. "Got it," I said. She finally looked directly at me. "You're extremely calm about this." Suspicion edged her voice, as if my calmness itself was unsettling. "You told me to be calm," I answered, opening the refrigerator to arrange beers. I even placed a few bottles of her favorite sparkling wine, as if genuinely contributing. She looked at me for another second, then her phone buzzed and her attention snapped away. The party started that afternoon. The first guests were her colleagues. 3 women I'd maybe seen twice before, all loud, drinks in hand. Then a couple from her gym, more of her friends. Some of my friends arrived around 4:30. Hector from work, Landon from high school, a couple of guys from my baseball team. Landon pulled me aside in the kitchen, confusion in his eyes. "Why does it feel like I'm at her party, not yours?" "Because you are," I said, quietly. He frowned. What does that mean?" "You'll see. Just stay. Don't leave and stay sober. You might want to witness this." The house filled quickly. Music played, cheerful flamenco rhythms floating through the air. Conversations overlapped. Laughter. She was in her element, moving through the crowd, ensuring everyone had drinks, making introductions. The perfect hostess, smile flawless. I played my part, smiled, made small talk, kept the ice buckets full. People asked how the house was. I said, "Good." They asked about work. I said, "Busy season." Normal party talk. I even joked with strangers, playing the role of perfect host. Close to 5, she checked her phone, then her gaze moved to the door. Waiting. Her excitement was almost tangible. One of her friends, a woman named Paige, cornered me by the snack table. "So, I hear Richard is coming. You're quite mature." Not every man would be this gracious. Her tone probed, as if searching for even a flicker of discontent. Just ching to keep things friendly, I said, voice so flat it didn't even ripple. Still, not every man would accept this, she said, studying my face. You're handling it better than my ex. He was a control freak. Couldn't tolerate this sort of a thing. I shrugged and excused myself to get more napkins. Hector found me in the hallway. He lowered his voice. Brother, what's going on? The vibe here is weird. It's going to get weirder, I said, coldness creeping into my voice. You should have your phone ready, video mode. You might want to record this. He raised his eyebrows, but before he could ask more, the doorbell rang. The entire room seemed to pause. Conversations didn't stop completely, but they hushed. Everyone sensed something, an unusual tension threading through the air. She moved quickly toward the door, making one last adjustment to her hair in the hallway mirror, but I moved faster. I reached the door first, my hand already on the knob. She stopped a few feet behind me, slightly confused. I'll get it, I said calmly. I opened the door. Richard stood there. Tall, confident smile, holding 2 bottles of what looked like very expensive Rioja, probably more than my weekly salary. He wore a stylish shirt, designer jeans, an expensive watch that caught the light. Hey, man, he said, extending his hand for a shake. His tone was friendly, casual, as if we were old friends who hadn't seen each other in years. I took his hand, gripped it firmly, looked directly into his eyes, My gaze didn't falter. She's yours now. Ah, I said clearly, loud enough for everyone in the hallway to hear. I'm leaving for good. The words detonated like a grenade in the center of the party, shattering all tranquility. Richard's smile froze. His hand was still in mine, but his brain was clearly struggling to process what I'd just said. Behind me, the apartment fell silent. The music still played, but no one spoke. No one moved. Every eye focused on me. Shock, bewilderment, disbelief written across their faces. I released his hand, turned to the coat rack, picked up my jacket, the one she'd bought for me, and put it on. Slow, deliberate movements. I looked around the room. Everyone stared, faces showing complex emotions, shock, confusion, even a hint of awe. Thank you all for coming, I said calmly, without mockery or anger. Enjoy the party. Then I walked straight past Richard, who was still frozen at the door, wine bottles in hand, expression caught like a sculpture mid-motion. I stepped out of the apartment. The door closed softly behind me with a quiet click. From inside, not another sound emerged. Just dead silence. I walked to my service van, got in, started the engine. My hands were steady, not even the slightest tremor. I backed out of the driveway and headed toward Dalton's place on the other side of town. 3 blocks away, my phone started ringing. Calls, texts, all from her. I let it ring. At a red light, I glanced at the screen. In just minutes, it had filled with missed calls and unread messages. I put the phone on silent and kept driving. Dalton's apartment was 15 minutes away. When I pulled up, he was already outside, leaning against his truck, beer in hand. Seeing my face, he started laughing. You actually did it, you crazy bastard. I told you I would, I said. Man, I need details. Come in. His spare room was small but clean. A bed, a dresser, a window overlooking the parking lot. For me, it was everything I needed. A space of my own, without her. I tossed my bag on the floor and sat on the bed. Dalton handed me a beer. Spill it. I told him everything. The Thursday night ultimatum. Friday's preparations. Transferring funds. Moving personal items. That moment at the door where I clearly announced my departure. He listened without interrupting, occasionally shaking his head, disbelief written across his face. That was ice cold, he said when I finished. Damn, you actually did it. My phone on the nightstand wouldn't stop vibrating. I picked it up, scrolled through the messages without opening them. What are you doing? This isn't funny. Come back immediately. You humiliated me in front of everyone. We need to talk now. Please come back. We can work this out. Then, calls from unknown numbers, probably her friends trying to reach me on her behalf, attempting to salvage the situation. Landon sent a text. Dude, that was legendary. The whole party exploded. People are leaving. She's going crazy. Richard left 5 minutes after you did. Call me when you get a chance. I showed the message to Dalton. He whistled softly. She invites her ex to humiliate you, and you completely reverse the situation. This is a work of art, my friend. Hector sent another text. I recorded it, brother, if you want. Also, I'm leaving too. This party is over. You handled it with class. I replied, thanks, brother. See you Monday. Dalton opened another beer. So, what's the plan now? Stay here for now. Find my own place. The lease is in both our names, but I've already transferred my share of next month's rent to the joint account. She can figure out the rest herself. What if she comes here? She doesn't know where you live, and my new bank account is completely separate from her. Good point. You hungry? I'm ordering pizza. We ordered pizza from a nearby shop. While waiting, I finally opened one of her messages. The most disturbing one. I don't understand why you did this. We have 2 years together. We can work it out. Please talk to me. I stared at it for a long time, then typed a single reply. You wanted me to handle Richard coming to our party with maturity. I did. I gave him to you. And you? We're done. I hit send. Then, without hesitation, blocked her number. Dalton stood in the doorway watching. That's it? That's all you're giving her? That's all she needs to know. My tone was calm, firm, no wavering. The pizza arrived. We ate, watched a soccer match on TV, Real Madrid versus Barcelona, a classic showdown. My phone vibrated a few more times. All unknown numbers. I didn't answer. Eventually, it stopped. Around 9, Landon called. I answered. You okay? He asked, excitement threading through his voice. Yeah, what happened after I left? Chaos, absolute chaos. She tried to pretend it was just a joke, but no one believed her. People started finding excuses to leave. Richard didn't even come inside. He handed her the wine, mumbled an apology, and slipped away. By 5:30, the apartment was half empty. By 6, except for her and 2 or 3 friends trying to comfort her, everyone had left. Damn. She kept saying you'd come back, that you were just making a point establishing boundaries, but her friends didn't seem convinced. I'm not coming back. Yeah, I figured. Listen, whatever you need, let me know. That took real guts. We hung up. I sat on Dalton's couch, beer in hand, feeling a peace I hadn't felt in months. No regrets, no doubts. Sunday morning, I woke up in Dalton's spare room feeling better than I had in months. Lighter, as if I'd been carrying a weight I hadn't recognized until I put it down. Sheesh. Dalton was already in the kitchen making coffee. Sleep well? Best sleep in weeks. He poured me a cup, strong Spanish coffee. Your phone's been very quiet. That probably won't last. He was right. By noon, messages started coming through social media. Most were from her friends, asking what happened, saying she was heartbroken, implying I'd overreacted. A message from a girl named Skylar, her university classmate. She made a mistake, but she loves you. You have such a long relationship. Couldn't you talk to her? I didn't respond to any messages. Monday, I went to work as usual. Hector saw me in the shop, a barely contained smile on his face. You're a legend, man. Everyone's talking about this. The guys at the company, I might have mentioned what happened. Hope you don't mind. No problem. All day I stayed busy with repair calls, air conditioning malfunctions, furnace inspections, routine work. Work continued as usual. full of mechanical precision and control, which I appreciated. No drama, just tasks that needed completing. At lunch, I received a call from an unknown number. Despite some uneasiness, I answered. "Hello, it's me," her voice. She must have borrowed someone's phone or was using some anonymous service. I immediately hung up and added the number to my blacklist. Her voice no longer held any attraction, only a sense of invasion that disgusted me. Tuesday, she tried a different approach. I received an email, long, full of emotions, apologies, justifications. She wrote that she never meant to hurt me, that inviting Richard was just to maintain friendship, to show her maturity and modernity. She even blamed me, said I was ruining 2 years of relationship over a small thing. I read it once, then deleted it. Her words no longer had any meaning. Wednesday, Landon sent a text. "Heads up, she's been asking our mutual friends where you live. I haven't told her anything, but thought you should know. Thanks, brother." Also, apparently Richard doesn't want anything to do with her now either. He told his friends she used him to mess with you, and he doesn't want to be a pawn in her emotional games. He feels duped. A barely perceptible smile touched my lips. Even her ex-boyfriend had seen through her games. Thursday evening, I was watching TV at Dalton's when someone knocked on the door. Dalton looked at me, eyebrow raised. Expecting anyone?" "No." He looked through the peephole, then turned to me. Woman, I don't know." My stomach tightened. "Don't open it." The knocking continued. Then her voice came from outside, muffled, with a hint of crying. "I know you're in there. Please. We really need to talk." "Just 5 minutes, okay?" Dalton and I remained silent. We just listened to the voice outside the door. "I'm sorry, okay? I messed up. I really messed up. Please talk to me. I know you're angry, but we can't end like this." Her voice sounded desperate. We waited. The knocking continued for another minute before stopping. Through the window, I watched her walk back to her car, a white Renault Clio she usually drove. She got in, sat there for about 20 minutes, then finally drove away. "How did she find this place?" Dalton asked, concern on his face. "Don't know. Probably followed me from work. This isn't normal behavior. She's crossing boundaries." "I know." Dalton's face grew serious. "This is unsettling." Friday, exactly 1 week after the party, I met with the property manager of a bachelor apartment on the other side of town. The apartment was in an old district in southern Madrid, very small, affordable, available immediately. I paid the deposit on the spot and completed all the paperwork. That weekend, while she was at work, I returned to our former apartment. Dalton came to help. We loaded all my remaining items into the service van. I left the keys on the kitchen counter with a note beside them. "Rent paid until next month. After that, you'll have to handle it yourself." I didn't take any of the items we'd purchased together. The furniture we'd chosen, the plates and bowls she liked, the decorations she'd carefully selected. I only took my clothes, personal items, my tools, and a few things that truly mattered. Old photos of my grandfather, that soccer trophy I'd won when I was young. The last time, walking out of that apartment, everything felt settled. The door locked softly behind me with a quiet click, as if sealing away a chapter of the past. I didn't look back. By Sunday, I was settled in my new place, small but mine. No shared spaces, no tension, no games. A place completely my own where I could breathe freely. My phone vibrated once more. Another unknown number. Another message. "People are saying you're cold, that you didn't even try to solve the problem, that you just abandoned us. Abandoned someone you once loved." I replied with my new number. This would be the last message I'd send her. The final period on this relationship. I didn't abandon anything. I just stopped playing a game I never intended to participate in. Then I blocked this number too. completely cutting off all connections with her world. 3 months passed. Spring turned into summer, and Madrid's sunlight became even more scorching. The bachelor apartment had become my true home. I painted the walls a bright yellow, hung some soccer posters I liked, and a few landscape photographs I'd taken myself. I found a sturdy, comfortable sofa at a second-hand store. Nothing fancy, but it was filled with my essence, completely mine. Work remained stable. I focused more on my technician work, and whenever I had free time, I'd volunteer for overtime, earning extra income. I'd saved quite a bit, and after completing the installation of an air conditioning system for a large commercial project, my boss gave me a nice bonus and mentioned the possibility of a promotion. He said if I continued with this performance, a department supervisor position might be waiting for me soon. Thursday, I was having lunch with Hector at a Mexican taco place near the shop. Halfway through the meal, he suddenly brought her up. So, I saw her a few days ago at the Castilla department store. I took a sip of soda, expressionless. She looked haggard, man, like she hadn't slept well in weeks. Pale, heavy, dark circles. I saw her from a distance. She seemed to be hurriedly buying things, didn't notice me. Probably better that way. Have you thought about contacting her? For, closure? He asked, tentatively, as if testing my resolve. I closed it when I walked out that door, Hector. Any other gesture would just be reopening something that needs to stay closed. That's not closure. That's trouble. He nodded. Makes sense. He seemed to fully understand what I meant. My baseball team friends also noticed the change in me. I participated in games more frequently, fully focused on the field instead of constantly checking my phone like before. We went for drinks after a game, and Landon pulled me aside. You look different, in a good way, like you shed some burden. I feel different, Landon, I admitted. I feel lighter than ever before. With your ex and all that, I have to say you handled it better than most guys. No drama, no begging, just cleanly walked away. He raised his Spanish beer. Sometimes the best move is to leave the table completely. I'll drink to that. I clinked glasses with him and drank in one go. I started doing things again that I'd put aside during the relationship. Every weekend I'd go hiking in the Sierra de Guadarrama, enjoying the tranquility that nature provided. I fixed my service van, which had been making strange noises for months. I even started reading again, immersing myself in those historical novels I used to enjoy. Small things, but they accumulated, helping me rediscover myself. One Saturday afternoon, I bumped into Paige at a cafe. She recognized me, her face showing a mix of surprise and complex emotions. Hey, I didn't expect to see you again. Just here for coffee, I said calmly. She hesitated, then carefully said, I heard about what happened after the party. I mean, the complete, more detailed story. What did you hear? I asked, no emotion in my voice. She spent weeks trying to get you back, calling everyone, sending messages. Richard also told his friend she used him to mess with you, and he feels manipulated. Now he doesn't want anything to do with her. She says she eventually couldn't afford the apartment alone, so she moved back with her parents in Seville. Paige studied my reaction. Do these things bother you? You don't seem concerned at all. I'm not, I said, my gaze clear and firm. Really? Really? She made her choices. I made mine. How she is now, her situation, her feelings, they're no longer my responsibility. Paige gave a slight smile, admiration in her eyes. That might be the most definitive statement I've heard after a breakup. I paid for my coffee and left, ran some errands, went home, watched a soccer match in my apartment that evening, a normal Saturday. Peaceful and free. That night, lying in bed in my quiet apartment, I thought about myself 3 months ago. Standing in an apartment full of people, being tested, being pushed to accept disrespect, disguised as maturity. I could have stayed, swallowed my pride, smiled at the party, pretended everything was fine. Many men would do that, to maintain peace, avoid loneliness, preserve a relationship that existed only in name. But respect is not something negotiable. The moment I accepted being treated as inferior, I taught others that was acceptable. Once a line is crossed, it will continue to be crossed until you completely lose yourself. That moment of leaving wasn't an escape. It was preserving my dignity, preserving the most basic of my boundaries as a person. My phone vibrated once. A message from Dalton. Usual place, pool night. You coming? Be there in 20. I quickly replied. I got up, got dressed, grabbed my keys, and left. Life isn't perfect. This bachelor apartment is small. Money is tight sometimes. Starting over isn't easy. But now I can look at the man in the mirror and not see someone who settles. Not someone who accepts disrespect for comfort. Not someone who chooses to stay in a degrading situation. I walked out of that party with my dignity intact. 3 months later, I still had it. More firm than ever. That's worth more than any relationship built on tolerating disrespect. Some people might say what I did was cold, extreme, and overreaction. Those people can go date her.